How's it going, guys? Today I want to talk about the trade that went down last night. Red Wings finally trading one of their goalies, Petr Mrazek, to the Philadelphia Flyers for a conditional 4th and a conditional 3rd. So, kind of a strange trade. It'll probably end up being a 3rd round pick, though, and definitely a trade I feel Detroit had to make. If you guys are unaware, Mrazek was basically at the end of his time in Detroit. He was on the final year of his 2-year, $4 million contract, 3.7 in this game just because Detroit's over the capping game, so they kind of like reduce everybody. But as you can see here, he's a pretty decent goalie, 25 years old, 83 overall, medium starter potential. Role there is a starting goalie. Jimmy Howard's very similar, 33, 84, also a role starting goalie. So most of the time, like for the past 3 years, they've kind of split games. This year, Howard started more at the beginning, but Mrazek started getting more starts as he was playing better. A couple years ago, Mrazek played more. Before that, Howard played more. So $9 million for 2 goalies where really neither one is the true starter and they're kind of splitting games doesn't make a lot of sense, especially for a team right up against the cap like the Red Wings. So it made sense for Detroit to finally move on from one of them, and with Jimmy Howard's age and contract, I don't think any team was going to trade for him. So basically it meant they had to trade Mrazek. A lot of people saying he still has a ton of potential, but as you can see here, it says he's 25. He's actually 26, just turned 26 this month. I mean, I don't know how much more potential there is for him to get. Like, you could argue maybe a couple more years, but like once you're 28, I think you are what you are. So it'll be very interesting to see how well he does in Philadelphia. But in regards to the trade, guys, my personal opinion, I think it was a good trade. A lot of people disagree with me. We'll see here what EA says. So because it's like so many conditions, we're going to try and do every condition. Another thing to note too is actually Detroit retained 50% of the salary. Because it's ending this year, it really doesn't matter. It's like $2 million for 3 months. Who cares? So the first condition, it's a 4th round pick no matter what. If the Flyers make the playoffs and Mrazek wins at least 5 games, it becomes a 3rd. And then if they make it to the conference final and Mrazek wins at least 6 playoff games, it becomes a 2nd. So I feel like there's no way that pick becomes a 2nd. Probably will be a 3rd, though. I see like the Flyers are in a good playoff spot right now, and Mrazek should win 5 games over the next 2 months. And the other condition is a 3rd round pick in 2019 if the Flyers re-sign Mrazek. Now, I don't think they're going to re-sign him. As you can see here, they have Elliott and Neuberth, who are both injured right now, but both locked up to about $2.5 million for next year. So I feel like they probably won't trade one of these guys to sign Mrazek unless he goes absolutely God mode in the playoffs. In which case, I mean, Detroit would get 2/3. Chances are, though, that's not going to happen. So we'll see here, I guess. We'll try and do like pick by pick or condition by condition to see what happens. So let's say worst case scenario, all they do is they get the 2018 4th. Obviously, the Flyers are going to say yes to this. You can see there by the value, so I don't even want to put that one through. Now, if they do make the playoffs, he wins 5 games, they get the 3rd. And I mean, obviously, I think the Flyers still do this in the game. That's kind of just obvious there from the trade value, even on hard trade difficulty. Now, let's say somehow they make it to the conference final. Mrazek carries them there, winning 6 of 8 games. They'll get a 2nd, and then if they also sign him, because he played so well, they get a 3rd round pick with that too. And so right there, with the 2nd and 3rd, best case scenario for Detroit, this is where the trade might not happen. So in game, this is the most fair, the best case scenario for the conditions. And as you can see, the Flyers do reject it there at best case scenario. But if the most likely scenario happens, which is the Flyers making the playoffs and not re-signing Mrazek, all Detroit gets is the 2018 3rd, in which case I think the Flyers for sure say yes to this, especially 50% retained. Yeah, they do say yes. So in game, I'd say Flyers definitely win this one. Like, the only way it's even fair, or maybe a slight win for the Red Wings, is if the best case scenario happens with the conditions, which I really don't see being the case. But we're not going to try to trade from Philadelphia's side just to see if there's any difference. So we're not going to try to trade from the Flyers' perspective. And one thing I forgot to mention before, you can see that Mrazek's actually on the block, and that's just like done by the computer. So that's kind of interesting. Kind of shows, I guess, that even the computer GM thinks it doesn't make sense to have both these goalies. So we're going to see here if we can get Mrazek for like one of the conditions. Obviously, I don't think just the 4th is going to be enough, but maybe the 2nd and the 3rd will be, or maybe like without the 50%, the 2nd and the 3rd will be. We'll quickly try it all here. I mean, they want our picks though, so 2018 4th, that's worst case scenario. Obviously, not going to get it done. So next, I guess, would be like 2018 3rd. We'll try this here, and doesn't get it done either. Maybe they make the playoffs, not the conference final, but they do decide to re-sign him. So 2/3 there for Mrazek. Still no good. So we'll say that they do re-sign him and they make the conference finals, all that good stuff. 2nd and a 3rd. It's pretty equal, but I guess no at 50%. So let's see here if at full value, the 2nd and the 3rd, Detroit would do this. I feel like this is still not going to go through. still doesn't go through. So yeah, in game I think Flyers definitely win this trade. But in real life, I think it's a very fair trade. The Flyers really needed a goalie, and the Red Wings, I think, needed to move Mrazek. Like, Detroit left him available for the expansion draft, so Vegas could have taken him, or, like, you know, taken him and then traded him, and they didn't choose to do that. So clearly, his value was kind of low in the summer, maybe went up a bit. So I still think this ended up being a fair trade for both sides. I'd love to hear what you guys think about this trade in the comments section. Other than that, thank you guys for watching this video. If you did enjoy it, leave the thumbs up. Make sure to subscribe for more. Have a nice day, guys. Goodbye.